Hi, and welcome to Bourbon Turntable. We're a show where we blend the love of whiskey with the love of music. My name is Kevin Rose, and joining me here tonight is Benjamin Eves. Benji, what's going on?
Hey, Kevin, how's it going? Drew?
Hey,
Howdy, howdy.
we lost you for just a second, Ben. Drew, how are you doing, sir?
Uh-oh.
I'm great. Better now.
Better
Better
now?
now.
Good. Yeah, I always enjoy recording these shows with you guys. It's always a lot of fun. Highlight of the day. But Ben, you had an experience over your birthday weekend where you kind of randomly, spur of the moment, went to a concert. Tell us a little about that.
Right. So, kind of hinted that on the last show, but dig into a little bit here. So, I'm a totally a '90s kid. I mean, in that sense of growing up in the grunge era, a lot of alternative rock really bursting on the scene. That's kind of my wheelhouse, despite all my other musical interests. But opportunity came up to see Collective Soul and Better Than Ezra and Tonic on a tour, and they were playing here locally in my state in South Carolina, and I jumped on that, got tickets, got some great seats, got down to the show, and I was excited. For me, I'm a huge Tonic fan. Emerson Hart, his solo stuff, the stuff he does with Tonic, uh, his songwriting lyrically, it's one of those people I just go. He writes my soul on a lot of songs, and I have a deep connection with a lot of his music. It's something I've always come back to. Um, so I was there as much to see them as I was anybody else. Like if that was it, if it was just Tonic, sign me up. I'm there for it. The fact that there was Better Than Ezra and Collective Soul, that's icing on the cake. And so Tonic opened up. Just get right into it. Tonic opened up the show. They just came out with high energy, like this is going to be a rock and roll show. They didn't get into a lot of their melodic stuff. They just played more of their hard driving songs, and it was great. I mean, they were fantastic. My only complaint, it was short and sweet. They had a really quick set. They hit it hard, and then they were gone. I just wish could have gotten into a few more songs of theirs, but the takeaway from them was this is a band. These are guys that are just they're completely comfortable in their own skin. They're really thankful, grateful that they get to play live music and do this, and they just had a lot of fun, and you could feel that coming from them. That we're out here, we're just having a good time, and the crowd just fed off of that. Musically, they were tight. Emerson's voice was spot on. It was great, and it helped the venue we were in. It was just a smaller venue setting. Not like a club, but kind of almost like a small opera house type thing, and it was just great. So they played. Better Than Ezra came out. Um, they were a band I always enjoyed. Loved a lot of their albums, a lot of their songs. A lot of good memories from the '90s, but they kind of, I don't know. That was tough because the was it Kevin Griffin, the lead singer for them. I've had some people tell me, maybe it was monitor issues or whatnot. No, I've heard a few things this year already from them to kind of know it's not monitor issues. I think
Mm-hmm.
it's years of overuse with the voice, misuse of the voice, and he was just off pitch on almost every song. There was a couple songs he kind of hit pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Music, musicianship wise, they were great. But here's what he did, and maybe it's he knows he's off on that. So he makes up for it. He tells a lot of stories. He's very engaging with the audience. He actually got off stage and into the audience
Mm-hmm.
for a few songs. He had a lot of memories there from playing in Columbia back in the '90s. Before he named off several bars that they played at, and just different stories. He started rattling off, bands like Jump Little Children, and of course Hootie and the Blowfish was big. Just these, but little local South Carolina bands that you only knew about them if you lived here, basically. But he was
Mm-hmm.
just popping those off, and just very charismatic, very fun. Um, they did a great cover of Elton John's "Tiny Dancer." That was a lot of fun, and musically, the highlight for them, their drummer was freaking off the chain. They just let him cut loose at one point with this kind of drum solo thing, and they got real funky with it and all, and just had a lot of fun with that. So where voice wise, he may not been really on par. Just they kind of made up for it in other ways. And it was by the time their set was over, you were just smiling. You had a lot of fun. This is great. This is what live music is, you know.
Yeah.
And then Collective Soul comes out, and I've never seen them live before, and I'm expecting good things because I've always heard good things about these guys, and I've always loved their music. I was a big fan when they came out, and even still now. And it's funny because before this show came out, I've actually been revisiting a couple of their albums over the last few weeks. But I was blown away. They flat blew my socks off. These guys were heads and shoulders above the other two bands that came out there, as far as their talent, their musicianship. There's not a single thing I could criticize or critique about their show. Ed Rolland is just like quintessential rock and roll lead man. It felt like at times, I said this on social media, it felt like at times there's moments he's channeling Michael Hutchence from NXS a little bit. There's times he feels like David Lee Roth up there shaking around, but his voice was just impeccable. It was amazing. He had so much energy. And by the time their set was over, I'm sitting there looking at my wife going, how's he doing this? He's got just as much energy at the end as he does at the start. And it's like, this dude he's got to be exhausted. But I mean, he just put everything into it. And so here's a band that's, 25 years since they came out, that in my opinion is at the absolute top of their game. Just the lead guitarist was freaking unreal. Some of the solos he ripped off, some of the things he did was phenomenal. The sound, the way it was just absolutely awesome. It was loud without being too loud, if you know what I mean, but it was just, oh man, it just grabbed you. And so they played a lot of their hit songs. They did some fun covers of things. Again, Ed was very engaging with the audience, just really good. And there were a couple of moments in there that just really, struck for me. Like their first big hit was Shine. So they played that. That's a good high energy song. It was great. And they stop and you're waiting for them to go to the next song. What do? They turn around and play it again. Except this time it's crunchier, it's louder, it's heavier, and then they bring the audience in and start getting the audience to sing with them on the lyrics on it. And it was just, I just sitting going, never seen a band do this before. This was phenomenal. And they play their song Run at the end of the show. And Ed's got a phenomenal, it's a Breed Love 12 string that he's using for the acoustics on a lot of the songs. Just had a great sound coming off of that thing. And so he's strumming that. And then by the end of this, they work through the song. And then by the end, it's just him. Everybody else has put down their instruments. It's just him strumming on that 12 string. And the bandmates, they kind of come out, kind of, say their goodbyes, do their thing. And everybody's cheering. And as they go to walk off stage, they kind of get in the back and just see them standing off. They're in a little tight circle. Ed's just strumming away. And they're just kind of having this little thing to this moment to themselves. Like, again, just a band that's been here for a while. We're grateful to get to do this. We're having a ton of fun. This isn't just work. We are just pouring our hearts out in this. And we know we just killed it. And now we're over here taking a little moment for ourselves to kind of take this in. And that was beautiful to see. I don't know, something about that was
very cool.
I love seeing that. And then they just kind of made their way off. And but just phenomenal. I mean, from start to finish, that show was amazing. So if you get the chance to catch them on this tour, they're still going. By all means, get your tickets. Not sure when it will end, but good grief, that was a Collective Soul by itself was well worth it. But the other guys made a great show too. So
yeah, of the three, they would be my favorite.
Yeah,
and Where the River Flows, I think that's one of my favorite guitar riffs.
Right.
I love it. So that's very cool. I'm glad you got to see that.
Yeah. It was fantastic.
Yeah. Collective Soul in your wheelhouse, Drew? Something you like?
Yeah, I definitely enjoy the sound. I gravitated during that time and kind of still towards more of the West Coast sound from the 90s.
Mhm.
Mhm.
But I still, have an appreciation for what they do, and
Yeah.
it's cool stuff. Yeah.
They're also,
So
I will say that they're one of those bands that, as good as they sound on CD or radio, they're even better live. They
yeah.
really
Mm.
are. Just not just performance wise, but there's the sound and everything. They've got it down, and it's just like, wow.
Very cool.
So
Very cool. Well, I don't think that we'll have much of anything on the list that we're going to go over in a little while that would be as good as pretty much anything that Collective Soul would have put out. But we will be talking in just a little bit about the top 10 songs from a decade ago. This is our 10th show. So we thought, well, let's look at the top 10 songs from 10 years ago, from the date this show will air. So we'll be looking at shows from November 10th, 2011, and we'll be looking at songs from November 10th, 2011. And yeah, it's an interesting list, but we'll get to that in a second. Before we do that, though, we're going to talk about keeping that number 10 thing as part of the theme. We're going to be talking about some 10-year-old whiskey. And what I've got is a 10-year-old Jack Daniels.
oh, look at you.
Yeah, I just
Mhm.
picked it up and just opened it, 30 seconds before we started recording the show. So I've not tried it yet. It is obviously 10-year Jack Daniels, 97 proof, limited release. I think this is the first Jack Daniels product that's had a age statement on it. So we will see how that goes. The note, it's definitely Jack Daniels on the nose. Oh, it's good. I mean, you can tell it's Jack Daniels, but it's got a little bit more sweetness to it. It's
Okay.
got a little bit more of an extended finish to it. It's not as banana forward, like a lot of Jack Daniels is. Yeah, I like this. It's pretty good.
What's the proof on that again?
97.
97. Okay.
Yep. So Jack Daniels 10-year-old. So yeah, I mean, it's not that expensive. I think it was $70.
Okay.
It's not bad
But
for that.
if you see it, it's fairly allocated. So if you see it, at a reasonable price, you may want to grab it. If you're not sure you want to make that kind of investment, find a bar or a tasting room somewhere that you can give it a shot. But my guess is that most bars, they're going to be probably charging the cost of half a bottle for a pour. So give it a try. I think you'll like it. I'll be sure to get samples out to you guys at some point soon. So Drew, what do you got? What are you going
All
to
right.
talk about
Yeah.
tonight?
I've got a little bit of a Russell's Reserve 10-year pick coming from our good friends of the show, Chris and the staff over at Westport Whiskey and Wine. This is a barrel they did earlier this year, I think April-ish.
Yeah.
It you can tell it's a turkey product. You got a lot of that kind of the cinnamon and the nutmeg kind of thing, which I get a ton of with turkey products. But this one opens up really, really nice. Chris, there's always a story behind every barrel with him, just because he has such a visceral connection to all of their barrels. But to hear him tell it, this was a relatively short barrel. I think about 110, 111 something bottles like that. So it's a shorter barrel for Russell's, which you can tell, that extra oxidation, extra oxygen in the barrel really mellowed this one out. And so it comes in on the nose with a lot of baking spice, but then on the palate, there's tons of toffee, almost. I would compare it to like a Werther's Original type candy,
Yeah.
which I love. To me, Russell's is the perfect fall whiskey. You can sip on it for an evening around a fire. You can put it in a cocktail if you want. And it just very, very approachable, but complex as well. So, big fan of the Russell's 10-year. Also, I think that's probably the somewhat undiscovered gem in the single barrel market right now. Everybody's going to buy you out of Blanton's and Eagle Rare and Four Roses, and even some of like the Rebel Yell products and stuff like that.
Right.
I think if you can get your hands on some Russell's picks, that's some of the best whiskey coming out right now of any single barrel program consistently. I have yet to have one that I wouldn't drink. So.
Russell's Reserve has a Rick Rubin kind of batting average to me.
Yes, I like that.
The Russell's Reserve private picks. I don't know that I've had one that I thought, oh, that's not that good. I don't really care for that.
Right.
They're just consistently fantastic. Now, they always kind of hit that, turkey. It's Russell's Reserve. It's wild turkey, but you can get some pretty unique tasting notes out of those. So I think those are great.
Yeah, they're ridiculously delicious, and I have had some blind tastings that I've done with people where Russell's Reserve pick beat out Pappy 15-year.
Oh yeah,
wow,
easy
and like easily, yeah. So for all you Pappy snobs out there,
keep hunting the Pappies.
Right.
Keep after it.
Let them have it.
Give up.
Yeah.
Do not give up. You'll find that Pappy 15 somewhere, and you just keep spending your money on that and leave the Russell's picks alone.
Right.
Yeah.
Ben, what do you have, sir?
So fall and winter to me start getting into Scotchy Scotch season. I love my smoke. I love my peat, and I'm going with a real funkster right here, Springbank 10-year. So for you whiskey aficionados, this is from the Campbelltown region of Scotland, and Springbank is known for its peat and its smoke, but it's different. If you're familiar with like Lafroig or Ardbeg or Lagavulin, some of the Isla region scotches that are famous for their peat and the smoke, this one is a little different adventure. It's got a little bit more funk to it. It doesn't have quite the medicinal, the iodine qualities that people typically associate with like Lafroig or even the seaweed or fishy notes that you can get there. It's got a little bit. Some people describe it almost as like a tire fire funk, and it's like, but it's all in the best way, most delicious. So take a sip here,
but in a good way. Okay.
Yeah. I'll take a sip here and break this down for you. But it hits you sweet up front. I get almost like a little bit of like a lemon curd kind of note to it. Even going cheesecake level, like a citrus cheesecake. And then you get a little bit of brine on the sides that kind of balances that sweetness out. In the back end, you just get this like cigar ash kind of smoke thing going on. And all of that just combines for, to me, whiskey deliciousness. So
you look tickled.
I am. I love it. Springbank is a unique adventure in Scotch. There's just nothing that's quite like it. It's completely its own thing, and you get people who are big you will find people that are big fans of Springbank out of anything. It's also not easy to get because it's a smaller distillery. It's still family owned, and you don't. The releases are limited, and especially ever since COVID and ever since we had all the tariffs and whatnot, it's getting very hard to find stateside right now. So if you can get a hold of a bottle, by all means, explore.
Cool.
It's a fantastic, especially if you like Scotch and you like things a little smoky. Springbank is wonderful to explore. So
very cool. So we had a good variety. We have a Tennessee whiskey, not bourbon, in Jack Daniel's 10-year. We're
gonna have a fight again.
we have a 10-year Russell's Reserve private pick, good Kentucky bourbon, and we have a peated Scotch. So that's a pretty good unintentional. I mean, we didn't plan any of this. I didn't know what you guys were doing
Right.
until we started recording. So that worked out really well. I like that. So we're going to wrap up side A of the show here. And when we flip it over to side B, we're going to talk about the top 10 songs from 10 years ago. And you can think about where you were 10 years ago and what you were doing. And I hope to God you're listening to something better than this. The songs that are on this list, at least for the most part, but we'll have a fun time talking about it anyway. Before we do that, I want to talk to you guys about a show we've got coming up with our friends over at Monday Suck. Jack the Hood Sommelier and Timothy Von Riper. Those guys are a lot of fun. They are friends of ours, and they have a wonderful show that airs Monday nights at 9:00 on Instagram. And they're going to come on and join us. We're going to talk about whiskey that they like and get some impressions from them. We'll probably do some blind samples. Then we're going to talk about music. And these guys have some very different musical backgrounds. And it will be a lot of fun for us to explore those together with them. So just make sure you are subscribe to our YouTube channel and that you follow us and like us on all that good stuff on Facebook so that you do not miss this show when it drops on November 17th. So with that, we will start on side B of the show, which again, this is our 10th show. So we're trying to keep with the number 10 as a theme. So we're looking at the top 10 songs from November 10th, 2011. So we will start out moving our way up, in Casey Kasem fashion. We'll move up from, we won't do 40. We'll spare you 40.
Thank God.
But we'll start with the top 10. We'll work our way up from number 10. And so here we are, top 10 songs from 10 years ago. And we start out with number 10. Man, what is wrong with this country 10 years ago that LMFAO, okay, spoiler alert, had 2 songs in the top 10.
Yeah.
This one is Party Rock Anthem. Guys, any thoughts on Party Rock Anthem?
No, this song sucks.
Yeah. They had their little shining moment. I mean, I can get where it's a fun song for people, but it's, there's more tire fire going on than in my glass right now.
Drew, now this was, let's see, in 2011, you would have been what, 16?
I was 16 at the time that this list was released. So this was my junior year of high school.
Yeah.
And
this is like junior prom stuff, man.
Yeah. Well, funny thing about me, didn't go to junior prom or senior prom. I was invited by a girl I was dating at the time, and the day before, one of my teammates on the basketball team told me that they had been sleeping together behind my back. So that ruined prom. Most of the music on this list, and we'll talk about this when we get to number 1, is the soundtrack to that whole period of time.
Oh wow!
So,
this is
but
great.
Yeah,
we're gonna take Drew down a dark tunnel here.
We may have some tears, but
these are songs I don't remember or I never knew, and for Drew it's going to be like a walk down the house of horrors. So
yeah, right. Thankfully I've got therapy tomorrow; it'll be fine. But no, I mean the guys from LMFAO, they've both done some things since. They both basically worked the Vegas DJ circuit.
The band broke up, man. The band broke up.
Yeah, exactly. The band. Really them and their 2 MacBooks couldn't get along anymore.
Right.
But yeah, I don't really have anything constructive or kind to say about that particular or song.
All right, well, moving right along then. We've got "Make Me Proud" by Drake. That was a song that he did with Nicki Minaj. Any thoughts on that?
It's interesting to me because Drake is an artist that has quite the discography. He's got a huge following. He sells out arenas.
Yeah.
So he has appeal to somebody. I don't necessarily know that the three of us are his target audience. It seems more like
No.
girls age 13 to 33 are kind of the target demo for him.
Yeah.
But this whole group, himself, Nicki Minaj, Lil Wayne, several others are in this kind of group at the time, the Young Money crew, and they're all featuring on each other's projects all the time.
Right.
So it kind of just is a piece of the larger puzzle of kind of the pop and maybe more pop hip hop combo stuff at the time. Again, I mean, you have to respect to a certain degree this man's made a record career. He released an album earlier this year to great, critical acclaim, but it's just not anything that I personally would put on, especially not from this era.
So about you, Ben? Drake showing up in your frequent playlist?
Drake equals funny memes. And that's about the extent of his influence in my life. Other than that, I give a whatever. Just not my wheelhouse. I mean, and it's not like I totally dislike rap or hip hop or any of that.
Yeah.
I've certainly got my favorites, and there's things I love to listen to. That he is just not one of them. And it's like, look, okay, fine. I can get where, certain generation, certain people, they like him.
Yeah. There are a few Drake songs I've heard that I think are all right. This is not one of them. I think the rhymes in it are pretty lazy. But that's just one,
right.
Okay boomer guy's opinion.
I kind of feel like that's what this is going to be, the okay boomer episode of here's the two old guys with the one younger guy that's kind of talking us through this. And we're just sitting here going, in my day.
We're telling LMFAO to get off our lawn.
Yeah, this is Old Man Yells at Cloud for the next 20 minutes.
Right?
That's what we're doing tonight.
Maybe not all together, but pretty close.
What happened to music?
This sucks. You Make Me Feel by Cobra Starship.
God, no.
Yeah, this is one I had to go back and re-listen to because I don't really remember this. I think at this point I was so traumatized I turned off the pop radio and put in a Foo Fighters CD. I must have missed this entirely, but again, this is the time of this. This is you got a little bit of house music, but then you've got this EDM influence where every song has to have this giant build in the bridge and then some kind of dance beat drop. And it really serves a function. I mean, if you are in high school, college, maybe a little bit after, and you're going to take acid or Molly and go party at the club all weekend, great. I'm sure this feels fantastic when you're wasted off your rear end. But I don't get the appeal on this one either.
Yeah.
And that for me breaks down the majority of the songs on this list. It's a lot of club, it's a lot of house music.
Yeah.
And I'm just that whole build up thing you're talking about, that's like nails on a chalkboard for me. My God, can you do something else?
Yeah.
I don't, and I've got friends. I know people that are all into it. I mean, they live for it. I'm like, fine, go have your fun. I'm going to crank up some Tool.
Yeah. Hey, to me, this is I think
learn to swim.
Yeah, I thought this song was pretty horrible, but it's very predictable. It's very formulaic. There's no uniqueness to it at all, and I kind of feel the same way about the David Guetta song that is number 7 on the list. It kind of follows the same kind of pattern. It's not necessarily horrible, but it follows the same formula as the Cobra Starship song does to me.
Right.
You almost have to wonder too, was there some kind of executive leadership change or a production change at the major labels, RCA or Columbia or Sony, that, really it's those three that making all these decisions. When you have such a formula that every song in the top 40, or at least, 80% of the songs in the top 40 follow that exact same formula, is that the artist's choice, or is that producers and record, label heads saying, okay, we know this is what works because it worked for the Black Eyed Peas or Lady Gaga or Beyonce last year. So now when you put out your project, here's the structure, here's the formula. I mean, I know we all have our opinions about this music, but I just wanted to think about, or try to think about, okay, is this artistic choices, or are these kind of decisions being made over the heads of some of these people? And it's, okay, take your $10 million record deal and do what we say, or go back to DJing in your hometown for $100 a night. And then the other question too is, how much of this time in music is driven by performance ability, and maybe some vocal ability, versus what we would consider true artistry. And I use that in air quotes only because we just talked about the Highwaymen last week, and it's a bunch of real guitar players and singers and songwriters doing their stuff. It seems like maybe we're out of that era almost completely.
Right. Yeah, that's what this feels
At
like.
least in terms of pop
formula.
radio.
This feels like plug and play formula, because it's literally, and that's what I'm sitting here before you even started in that. I'm thinking almost every one of these songs just kind of blends together. It sounds the same. What about any of them actually stands out to make it unique or different? And a lot of the songs from that whole, to me, the whole club and dance thing is the same thing. They're totally forgettable. Within a few months. You moved on to something else, and like you said, Cobra Starship. Who even remembers that?
Nobody.
Nobody.
Yeah, we haven't gotten through the whole list yet.
Right. And so it starts to
only
get,
4 of these people are still making music.
Right.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ben.
Yeah, no, but you're spot on. And so it gets to be, this is just plug and play formula to make money in the moment. And so you can argue, there's no real artistry going on here, to the degree that it's actually changing anything, impacting culture in any kind of way, moving people beyond dancing for a few months whenever this was a hit. And but that's just it. It all starts to literally sound the same. It's kind of like a Creed album from back in the 1990s. Every single song literally sounds exactly the same.
Sure.
So,
don't do anything different, because you know that worked. So don't try to be creative. Don't try to branch out or broaden your horizons or anything like that. You've got a formula, and run it into the ground, and then go back to working at the UPS store.
Which gets to why I personally just despise top 40 radio and music in general.
Yeah.
It's a lot of it is formula and money driven to the degree that it's just totally forgettable.
Yeah.
So,
well, we got one more song on the bottom 5, and that's Gym Class Heroes by Stereo Hearts. And I'll be honest, I had not heard this song before, and but I listened to it and thought it had some decent rhymes. It's a rap song, had some decent rhymes, and it wasn't altogether horrible. It was very forgettable, but I thought that it seemed more authentic than any of the songs that we've talked about so far.
Yeah.
Just try to be fair.
Yep.
Yeah.
I may never listen to it again, but
I mean, you got Adam Levine singing on there a little bit from Maroon 5.
Right.
And it's oddest, this is probably one of the better songs, at least for me, on this whole list. As far as I could sit down, if this came on the radio, somebody else is listening, fine, I can get through this. The other stuff, I'm dying to turn that off or whatever.
Yeah.
This one I can endure a little bit, So.
Yeah. So now we're going into the top 5. And we'll start with Pumped Up Kicks by Foster the People.
Okay.
Any thoughts on
this song.
Pumped Up Kicks?
Yep. Yeah. It's maybe one of the most different of anything that's on the list.
Yeah.
You got
Right.
a real band playing real instruments, singing real harmonies. I'm sure you two are familiar with the story kind of behind this, but
Mhm.
supposedly inspired by the Columbine shooting
Mhm.
and
Right.
several of the other, tragic mass shootings in schools and things like that. And really someone wrestling with, okay, what kind of pain and what kind of hurt does it take for a kid this young, a teenage boy, to get to the point where they would take a weapon into their school and try to hurt somebody. And that's a
Right.
pretty dark subject matter for a top 40 radio hit.
Right.
Um, but for kind of the point that you were making, Ben, where there's not a lot to shift or influence culture going on, this song kind of comes out and it's at least making a point.
Yep.
It's tough to empathize with somebody
It
that would
is.
carry out such a horrific act of evil, but at the same time, I respect the artistic choice and can even kind of get behind that. Um,
Mhm.
just to say, okay, yeah,
Right.
like I remember high school and middle school and how rough some of those things were and how dark some
Mhm.
things got for some people. And, who knows what other people were going through at the time too. And so I think this song probably, uh, had its place in culture beyond just being
Hmm.
popular enough to hit the top 40.
Yeah.
Yep. This is one of those exceptions, and for me, one of the probably maybe I have to go back and look at the list again. Maybe the standout song for me on this whole list, as far as what I personally like.
Mhm.
If I remember, I think this song did stir up some controversy because of its subject matter,
Mhm.
and also because of the way it was such a poppy, upbeat
Right.
kind of tone to it,
Yeah.
which I think is for me is what I appreciate so much about it. It's almost like a tongue in cheek approach to dealing with a very dark and heavy matter, which actually can get you to kind of think about things in a certain way more than just
Yeah.
roll out the heavy dark music and let's talk about this and present it in this really light upbeat way that sounds like you're just almost making light of it, and that's what gets people to take notice a little bit. And so yeah, I
Yeah.
kind of like the band a little bit, and yeah,
Yeah.
I like this song.
Yeah. I think the Foster of in Foster the People, Mark Foster, I think is his name.
Hmm.
I think he played
Mhm.
all the instruments on this particular song. I don't know if he does on all their stuff, but there is a real band that
Yep.
plays actual instruments, and it's a catchy tune and it's
Yeah.
unique, at least in a lot of ways among the group that we're talking about today. And yeah, again, it's not going to be something that I'm necessarily going to seek out to play. But if I hear it and you still do hear it, I won't, you know, break an arm trying to change the radio station.
Yeah.
Right.
You know.
Agreed.
Wait, sorry, that's in the past. Uh, gosh. So there's a verse in the Bible about a dog returning to its vomit. So now we've got
Yeah.
LMFAO making another appearance on this top 10 list, and sexy, and I know it. It is just the lowest common denominator kind of stuff, but we all know the song, and you may be sexy and you may know it, but you know this song, sadly.
Yep. I believe it was in a Super Bowl commercial that year.
Yeah.
There was several pretty big pop culture things
Yeah.
that used this song at one
Oh
point
yeah.
or the other.
Right.
Yep.
I think there's a lot of spoofs and a lot of things going on. And to me, that was uncle and nephew, that is, or almost like a whole spoof of music themselves and what they're doing.
Hmm.
Which the fact that they actually created a couple of hits is in some ways almost kind of funny. But
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah.
here it is what it is. It's one of those like, my God, can we forget this and move on? And you
Right.
sit there and you think, this was music that was actually made and people actually liked it.
Yep.
What is wrong?
Yep.
It's bad.
Yeah. So Anyway, we'll move on. We've
Yeah.
pounded that long enough.
Another grandpa moment.
Okay, now we're kind of getting into some artists that have kind of stuck around. Maroon 5 as a group may not have, but Adam Levine certainly has. So Moves Like Jagger is number 3 on the list from Maroon 5. Christina Aguilera was featured on this song as well. So, any thoughts on Moves Like Jagger?
Go ahead, Ben.
Adam Levine, big, women go nuts for the guy. He's got an interesting voice. It's unique. I appreciate that. I can appreciate some of what they've done with Maroon 5, but it's just not something I get into very much. I hear that song. It doesn't move me like Jagger. I'll tell you that much. So it usually moves me to turn the radio dial.
Yeah, I hear you. This is not my favorite, or probably even in my top 5, or maybe even 10 Maroon 5 tunes. If you listen to some of their earlier stuff, and I mean, you guys both have, I'm sure, they're a blues band. I mean, they've got a lot of really, really talented individual musicians. If you haven't heard it, they do a cover of Al Green's "Let's Stay Together" that is awesome. Really, really fun listen. But outside of having a really catchy, like, little whistle riff, that's the only thing anybody really remembers from this song. That, and I'm pretty sure it was on one of the Just Dance Wii games at the time, or one of those.
Probably.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys remember those at all.
Yeah.
Ben, your kids might be a little young for those, but yeah.
No, I would agree about Maroon 5. You go back to Songs About Jane. There's some really good songs on there that are really fully structured band songs that you could go to a concert and actually see a full pop rock band playing. This doesn't necessarily fit that, but I have to admit it's a kind of a guilty pleasure, maybe pushing it, but it's a song that I kind of like. And back during this time frame, I was the public address announcer and played the music between innings and the walk-up music for players for our high school baseball team that my son was on. So I was always looking for different songs that were kind of upbeat, and a lot of what I played was the kind of stuff that you would expect me to play. So I got a few complaints that could you play something that was played since the players were born. So I was searching stuff out, and this is one of the songs that I found that didn't make me want to jump out of the press box. So
good memories with that. Then.
It was a lot of fun. Then we get to Rihanna. We Found Love.
Man, that girl can sing. She has got quite a voice on her. All of the craziness, the domestic assault thing with Chris Brown that happened, and all the other kind of issues and barriers for getting into the music industry. The girl has a beauty line, a clothing line. She's got tons of platinum and gold records. She's a talent, and heck of a performer. I like this song. It's catchy, albeit a little repetitive, but she really shows off her range in some of this. I'm a fan. I might be alone in that, but these last two are the ones that I can go back to and listen to pretty easily and not have any trouble with.
Ben, what do you think?
Yeah. No, so
I thought I would be the biggest curmudgeon in the group, but apparently I'm not.
No, Kevin. No, you're probably not when it comes to music for me. Rihanna, like, mad respect for her voice and her talent. Yeah. And I think there's a lot of other songs that she does that I think are phenomenal that I'm a fan of. This one, I am not at all. And that was from the word go. From the first time I heard it, Um, at where I used to work in the warehouse, this would be blaring on the radio a lot of times, and I just wanted to shove stuff in my ears. And my
Right.
God, turn this off. The repetitiveness of it, the whole club beat thing, the build up and drop and all that crap. I just I can't, man. I can't. It just drives me nuts. And so this is one of those songs. Every time I hear it come on, it's immediately get me out of here, turn that off, do something. Because
Yeah.
I again respect the voice. I can respect why people like it. People that are into that, like that's your thing. That's great. That is not my thing.
Yeah.
Not at all. Not even close. And I just
I agree with what you guys have said in terms of her voice. I think she's probably got one of the better voices in music today, or 10 years ago, or whatever you want to talk about. I think she's just got a phenomenal voice. I think the type of music that she chooses to sing, it doesn't, you can hear it if that's what you're listening for, but it doesn't, to me, it just doesn't really highlight uh, her talent as much as it could. I mean, I think get her in some sort of blues band where she's singing some of these sultry, smoky tunes. My gosh, that would just be fantastic. Would love to see something like that happen. But why would she want to do that when she can keep doing what she's doing and be guaranteed millions of dollars and not alienate the millions of fans that she has? So, again, like her voice, but don't care for this song that much, and don't care for most of what she does that much. Then the number one song, November 10th, 2011, 10 years ago, Someone Like You by Adele. So
I dig this song. Yeah. So this was another post breakup driving around in the car song. Has a special place for me just a little bit, but you know, Adele lives and breathes the power ballad, like very few people in modern music do. She, belts this one. It's an incredible vocal performance. I, you know, if you're gonna put a grand piano and a cello on a song and let her sing, sign me up all day, every day. I'm fine with that. Be more than happy. So again, well written song. Not a lot of clever turns of phrase or anything like that, but it's just anybody that's ever been through a breakup knows exactly what she's talking about and feels it pretty deeply. And then the way that she can take those and put so much emotion and so much power behind those lyrics, my hat is off. I think this song is number one for a reason. Definitely is the standout from anything else on the list, in my mind. But yeah.
Ben?
So Adele is interesting for me. Good Lord, her voice is amazing. A lot of the songs are fantastic. This particular song, as you hit on, Drew, I love the pure simplicity of it. Piano, a cello, her voice, that's all it is. And it works in such a great way. That smoky voice she's got is just astounding. But yeah, it's like, is that all she sings about, her breakups? Like every freaking song is about.
We'll find out. She's got a new record coming out soon. She's apparently happy now.
Love and breakups and whatnot. But so I have like this love-hate thing with Adele, because I absolutely love her voice. I do enjoy and appreciate a lot of her songs. But then it's like with this song, as good as it is, this was over 4 minutes long. I'm about halfway through it. I'm going, is this thing going to end already?
Yeah.
And it's like, there's another 2 minutes to go of all this. Okay. It just starts to like, let's get on through this. And then there's something about the way she enunciates a lot of words with her songs that it's just, I don't know what it is for me, personality thing or whatever. It kind of, I'm like, oh, stop, just stop. That bothers me. I don't like that. So there's like this, and then there's there's some of her songs I've made some really funny jokes too with friends that I've actually ruined the song for them. I won't go into that here because the way she says some things, the way her background singers say some things, it sounds like something else. And when I tell people, "Oh, it sounds like she's singing this," they're going, "I'm never able to hear that song again the same way." I'm like, sorry, but
Yeah.
so yeah, I kind of have this love hate thing with Adele. Again, absolutely brilliant, beautiful. I would love to hear that voice, kind of like what you say, Kevin, do some things a little bit different than what we typically hear with her on the radio or on her albums. Cause I think the power and what she could do with that lends itself to so many other genres and so many different things. Then it just kind of seems to be tied down to this one narrow thing that they typically do with her. And,
you look at
it starts to get, to me, it starts to get song after song from her starts to get old hat. And I'm going, yeah, we're kind of just tackling the same subject matter from a different viewpoint again and again and again. And that's kind of my thing. But that said, that one song, I can absolutely understand why that's number one. If it came out today, it would probably still be number one. And with good reason. And just the pure simplicity of it. That's what I love about it. That voice with mainly piano and a little bit of cello. It just boom. It's brilliant.
Yeah. I think when I went back through and listened to it again, one of the things that struck me is, yes, she has a phenomenal voice, but listening to her phrasing, if you get down to like that level of nerdy detail with it, her breath control in this is just unworldly. The way she sings and phrases the lyrics in this, it's just phenomenal and incredibly talented. She's performing live on some award show that she's going to win 5 Grammys on or whatever. Yeah, I'll watch that because I know it's going to be really good. But I'm not going to sit down and listen to an entire album of it. As good as it is, it's like, okay, that slice of cheesecake was great. Oh wait, I've got to eat 9 more slices of cheesecake. I don't know that I can do that. Maybe I'm up to the challenge. Maybe I'll take that. But it's just too much for me. I would like to see, like we talked about Rihanna, take a risk. Like Lady Gaga went and did all these duets with Tony Bennett. That's taking a risk, and it really highlights how good her voice is, and how that can sometimes get masked in the songs that she chooses to sing or the songs that have made her famous. And I think with Adele, her voice is clearly the standout in what she does. But I would love to see her do something different, just to see what it's like. I think that would be a lot of fun.
We've talked about a little bit in the past, and maybe with when we were discussing the Highwaymen about people doing covers and tribute albums and things like that. Adele covering Billie Holiday.
Okay.
Sign me up. I mean, for me, Billie Holiday is probably my all-time most favorite female singer ever. Her voice.
Yep.
Just freaking butter. But I'm just thinking of Adele's voice covering Billie Holiday. I'd love to hear that.
Yeah.
Be great.
Yeah. So that is the top 10 from 10 years ago. And honestly, we talked a little bit more about it than I thought we would, and not all of it was negative. Not all of it was negative. I mean, but an observation. I think only 3 songs out of the 10 had a guitar in it. Okay.
Yep.
To me, I always kind of thought that it was a staple for the most part.
Right.
I get the Adele thing. That's it's a piano driven song, but everything else, it's all electronic, beats and whatnot. And who needs a guitar? You know? So top 10 from 10 years ago. And honestly, I couldn't tell you what's in the top 10 right now. And
we made it through, though. You know.
yeah, absolutely.
We
We persevered.
I wasn't thoroughly traumatized.
We did this for our viewers, and
Thank you, Spring Break. You got me through this.
All right. Well, Drew, tell us what we've got coming up next time.
All right. Next time you hear from us, we will be with our friends Jack and Tim from Monday Suck, talking music, talking some whiskey with them. Both of them are great guys. They're friends of ours personally as well. So we're going to have a fantastic show for you guys then when Jack and Tim join us next week.
Yeah, will be a lot of fun. All right. And Ben, talk to us about some social media stuff.
Social media. So if you want to dig into the Bourbon Turntable, you can find us on Facebook and on Instagram, also on Twitter under the Bourbon Turntable. And we're usually posting some really cool musical things that pop up from day to day, different albums, different songs, facts on artists, whatnot. There's always a plethora of things going on there, as well as sharing our latest shows. And pretty soon, hopefully, there's going to be a website coming out for the Bark Art Co-op, and you'll be able to find links for us there as well.
So for you, where can people find you on social?
For me, I am at Ronin Whiskey on Instagram, and you can find me as Benjamin Eves on Facebook.
How about you, Drew?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram as drew.crawley63. My Instagram is primarily for music, and then it's at drewcrawley63 on Twitter for me being snarky and rude most of the time. That's what Twitter's for in general.
What else would you do on Twitter? What else would you do on Twitter? You can find me on Facebook under Kevin Rose and on Instagram under Kevin7673. So I hope you'll feel free to follow us, comment to us, DM us, whatever. We are very open to hearing what your thoughts are on the top 10 from November 10th, 2011. If you want to debate us on LMFAO, you may get blocked, but no. We'll hear you out. We absolutely will, Jolie. We will hear you out. So until next time, when we'll be here with the guys from Monday Suck. Cheers, love, and free bird. Good night, everybody.